Hey everybody, it's Jim here, and today we're going to be going over the 77 Albatross exotic wood collection guitar that I received early last week. The format of this is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be putting this guitar on the bench because I don't need to. Unlike many other guitars or any other guitar that I've ever had in, there's a lot of documentation about this specific guitar that Deviser, the parent company of 77 guitars, have listed because this was a one of one for the 2019 guitar show that they held in Japan. But as always, this video will be timestamped for your convenience, but I'd like to jump right into what makes this guitar so unique and a little bit of history and background on the model and the show that it was designed for. In winter of 2019, Deviser had their first one-day guitar show where they had brands from Headway, Bacchus, Momose, 77, and STR guitars show off new models, limited edition models, as well as some premium models at the Deviser secret base or headquarters, so to speak, in Japan. Headway guitars make up the acoustic division of Deviser, and they had in a lot of very expensive and premium models indeed. Bacchus, who are a fairly well-known brand in America, albeit in the bass guitar community, also make electric guitars, and they had quite a few very stunning display models, as well as this T-Hollow P90, which is a gorgeous semi-hollow Telecaster in that pink, and the Surfbreaker, which is kind of their offset telly. Momose, a brand known for having zero compromises when it comes to making F and G style guitars, were also on full display. If you've never had the opportunity to try one of these in person and you do find one used locally, I would highly recommend giving one of these a shot. And the last brand we're going to look at is 77 Guitars, who had one Ex-Robato, one Hawk, and a whole bunch of Albatrosses. But here, we're only interested in one. That's this one. And this is the guitar that we have right now, the exact same one. I've never owned a guitar where I was able to see pictures this in depth from the manufacturer of the specific instrument itself, but it's pretty incredible being able to have this as a resource available to me to see the history and where it actually started. Now, as far as the specs go here, you have a Wenge top, you have two Mojo Tone Classic Alnico 2 humbuckers, 2 volumes, 1 tone knob, 1 3-way toggle switch, and you also have Goto hardware. The back of the guitar is actually comprised of 2 different kinds of wood, Carina, which is the majority of it, and then the 2 streaks of walnut to add for a little bit of stability, as well as a very, very nice aesthetic to it. The neck on this guitar is only made of Carina. It has an ebony fingerboard on it, 12-inch radius, and a 24.5-inch scale length. And on the back of the headstock, you have the typical 77 stamp that says made in the Asuka factory, Nagano, Japan since 2006. Now, there were 2 pieces of information that were not provided via that documentation that I like to go over whenever I'm talking about a guitar that I'm making a video on. The first is the weight. This guitar weighs in at 5 pounds 14 ounces. It is an absolute featherweight. The second is the neck profile. It's listed as a C, but if you've ever shopped around for 77 guitars or any guitar brand that Deviser makes, such as Momose or Headway or Bacchus, for example, you don't always get much more information than just that kind of generic C or U or 59 profile. This guitar feels like a 50s Gibson, a little bit slimmer at the 1st fret, but towards the 12th fret, it definitely feels more like a 50 style Les Paul. So if you're somebody who likes a chunkier neck, this is going to be right up your alley. However, I was intimidated thinking that this is going to be a baseball bat because some of the things that I've read online and even people that have commented on videos where I've mentioned 77 guitars have said that the necks on these were huge. I'm happy to report, at least to me, that's not the case. But I think that's enough talking. I'd like to get right into the sound samples. We're going to be using 2 amps for today's demo. For our clean tones, we will be using the Victory V40 Deluxe Combo in collaboration with the Strymon Volante in one little clip, adding a little bit of delay / extra ambience. And then for our dirt, all you're going to be hearing is the Tone King Gremlin, no other pedals whatsoever needed. Just straight up old-fashioned tube overdrive. So let's get started. I've played a lot of guitars over the years from various price ranges, from various brands, and sometimes you can get caught up with the specifications that you read about the guitar before you ever get the chance to actually hold it in your hands. You might think you found the absolute perfect guitar for you, but when it shows up and you sit to play it, it doesn't always live up to that kind of hype or that hope that you might have found an exceptional instrument. With this guitar, it has far exceeded my expectations, and my expectations were very high, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, because of my experience with Deviser products. The playability is flawless. The only other guitar that I've ever played that played as well as this one is that Paul Reed Smith behind me. And we'll get more into the Paul Reed Smith analogy and comparison a little bit later on in the video, but needless to say, absolutely flawless and on par with the best that America has to offer from production standpoints, which is very impressive considering it's a much smaller team in the Asuka factory in Nagano, Japan that build these guitars. I think these pickups are a great match for this instrument as well. These are Mojo toned classics. They are Alnico 2, which I prefer. I feel like I don't use a ton of gain or high gain in many instances, so you get a little bit more clarity with a pickup that's in Alnico 2, and it makes it a lot more versatile for what I would like to play in certain genres that I might find myself dipping my toes into here and there. Even something like jazz, this guitar could easily cover that bass, and all the way up to contemporary music, pop, rock, reggae, funk, ska. It doesn't really feel like it's limited in any capacity when it comes to that. Everything just feels absolutely top class. I cannot stress that enough. This is a stellarly built guitar that really lives up to everything that I had hype-wise going into it. And the biggest eye-opening part of having this guitar and going through the process of receiving it from Japan was the value proposition. If Paul Reed Smith, and I mention them again because I own a Core McCarty, I love it. I think that they make some of the best guitars, most consistent guitars in America. Imagine if they had a Wenge top, ebony fingerboard. You do have Carina back with the walnut kind of stripes in the side here. I mean, this is just exquisite. This would fall into what they term as their wood library. Wood library guitars, they're not cheap. I think at Dave's, the cheapest I've ever seen any wood library guitar is around $4,000. This guitar, on the other hand, on the used market, would have cost less than a new Vintera, made in Mexico production model from Fender, a new Gibson Les Paul Studio Tribute. Yeah, and are those guitars even remotely in the category or class of this? No, I put this right up there with the high-end Paul Reed Smith guitars as far as the construction, how they were built, how it sounds, how it feels, how it plays. This is just, it's hilarious. If you had the opportunity, if these guitars were produced more, and it would kind of compromise the quality potentially, but if these were in stores side by side with a lot of these guitars that people buy and sell, and they love a lot of them. I'm not saying this to knock any of the guitars that I just mentioned. Nobody would buy them. The only reason that you would have to buy something like that was because you wanted a certain logo here on the headstock. This is above and beyond. This is a better guitar than my 339 was. But one con, if there is one con to this guitar, it shares a thing with the Gibson 339. You're not getting to that 22nd fret. I'm sorry, you're just not getting it. The way that it's cut away is exactly the same. It's just not happening for you. Fortunately for me, I'm not somebody who plays notes very high up the neck that often. So I noticed it and I said, it feels like home, but it's just not there if it's something that's very important to you. Perhaps a different model from a 77 guitar would be a better selection for you. But wrapping this up, I feel so grateful that I'm the one that ended up with this truly one-of-a-kind guitar. I love it. I'm normally more of a flashy guy when it comes to the custom bright colors, but this guitar just called out to me. It's amazing. I love it so much. So If you found this video helpful or useful, entertaining, any combination of the three or any of those three individually, you'd be doing me a big favor here if you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. I'd like to thank everybody who is a member of this channel. With you guys' support, man, I really can't say enough how much I appreciate you guys. I love the fact that I've gotten to know so many of you who are members of the Discord. You can go ahead, you can join for free. There's a link right down below. Just come, we talk about guitars, all sorts of other stuff in there, and it's a really fun little community that we've been building over the last, I don't know, 6-7 months or so, and I'm happy to see that it continues to grow little by little. But that being said, that's the end of this video. Leave me a comment. Forgot to say to do that. Let me know what you think about this guitar or Deviser guitars in general, whether it's a Mose, a 77, a Bacchus, or a Headway, even one of the acoustic guitars. I'd love to try one of those Sakura models of those one day. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take it easy.